All right, so motivation. So I'm taking a graduate course in motivation. The course looks at what causes behavior, or what motivates behavior. So there are a lot of different theories that offer explanations, a number of different explanations for what motivates behavior. Now, there's no single theory, no one theory that can offer a comprehensive explanation for why people are motivated to behave in different ways in different situations. So the main theories are behavioral, cognitive, and humanistic theories, and theories explain what motivates, as well as they can be used to design interventions to help people get more motivated. So I'm going to explain what each of these theories are and then apply it to learning, especially college learning. So college students being motivated to learn. So what motivates students to learn? This is a question that has been on my mind, especially this past fall semester, because I have a group of students in this class called Sociology of Contemporary Problems, and the students just don't seem motivated to learn about these topics. They don't seem to care about doing the work. They don't seem engaged in the work, and I wanted to figure out a way to get them motivated. So by taking this class, I realized that there's actually a lot that can be done to change a lack of motivation. So students come into a course with a degree of motivation. So maybe they're not motivated to learn, maybe they're not motivated to be in the class, maybe they're not interested in the subject. But what instructors can do is they can actually change the level of motivation in their students through their behavior and their teaching style, as well as how they structure the course. They can also change motivation through the nature of assignments, as well as their informal interactions with the students. So this presentation is going to look at the research on how instructors can motivate their students more in class to be able to learn and be really engaged in the topics. All right, so the behavioral view of motivation, we'll look at that first. So what the theory says is that our behaviors are learned. So we are motivated to engage in a behavior because we learned in the past that it is a behavior that will get reinforced, perhaps, okay? So Skinner did a lot of work with, he's a behavioral psychologist, and as well as Bandura. So Skinner did work with operant conditioning, the influence of rewards and punishment on motivation, as well as Bandura with observational learning. So let's look at operant conditioning first. So according to operant conditioning theory, we engage in behaviors that have been reinforced in the past. So when we are given a reward for a behavior, it is reinforced. And Skinner found this out by doing studies with animals, putting a pigeon in a cage, and the pigeon learned to tap on a lever because when they tapped on the lever, they were given a treat. A treat was released. So they very quickly learned to click on that lever because they were rewarded, or that behavior of clicking on the lever was reinforced. So how can we use the operant conditioning in the classroom? Well, we need to provide reinforcement. We need to give feedback to students so that they are rewarded for positive behaviors when they get engaged in a project, when they put effort into the project. So different rewards that we can give that reinforce motivated behavior is that we can give praise. We can give feedback on papers, constructive feedback on papers. We can give higher grades, give A's to show that the student put in a lot of effort, that we want to reinforce their motivation, reinforce their behavior. All right, another type of behavioral view or behavioral approach to motivation is the social cognitive theory, and Bandura did work with this. So we engage in behaviors that we saw others do, and we saw that they got rewarded for it. So we learn through watching others. We don't actually have to engage in a behavior. We can actually learn a behavior by seeing other people engage in a behavior and get rewarded for it. So Bandura did the study with the Bobo doll, and there were children who watched the adults beating up on this Bobo blow-up doll and looking like they were having a good time. Now, the kids that watched the adults doing that then went into the room and demonstrated very aggressive behavior themselves. So they learned through observation and imitation to engage in aggressive behavior. Now, the kids that watched the adults in there and not being aggressive with the Bobo doll, they did not engage in that aggressive type behavior when they went in there. So Bandura concluded that we learn through observation and imitation. So how can we use the social conditioning? How can we use observation and imitation to motivate students to get engaged? Well, through observation, we can be a role model. So we need to be enthusiastic about the topic that we are teaching. When we are interested, when we are modeling an interest, then hopefully they will observe that and imitate it themselves. Okay, so we can model motivated behavior, we can model an interest, we can model effort, things of that sort. And when students admire you, they want to be like you, they're going to imitate you. So we can also use peer models. So when students see other classmates get rewarded, they are likely to imitate that behavior. One thing that I use in my class is I will ask a question and I'll say, who's going to be my gold star student for the day? And I know that sounds silly at a college level, but it's so funny because the students will actually get really excited about it and try to answer the question, be the first one to answer the question. And the thing is, I don't end up giving a gold star or anything of that sort, but they want to be able to get rewarded. And then it's funny because other students, once they see a student answer correctly and be considered my gold star student of the day, you see other students will try to imitate that and try to be the gold star student another day. So it encourages them to come to class prepared. All right, so let's look at the cognitive view of motivation. So the cognitive view looks at how we think, and how we think influences our motivation. So two different cognitive views of motivation is Piaget's theories on cognitive development, as well as another cognitive approach to motivation is the self-efficacy, or looking at how our cognitions about ourselves, oneself, affects motivation. So let's look at those. So Piaget's schema formation, so Piaget's theory of cognitive development, says that people are motivated to engage in behaviors because they want to make sense of the world. All right, so people want to feel this sense of equilibrium, this balance in understanding the world. And when they are presented with a new idea, new concept, they feel this disequilibrium. All right, so they have to assimilate the new information into their existing schemas, into their existing information in their brain, to be able to feel that balance again. Now, if they can't assimilate the new information into what they already know, then they might have to accommodate this new information, create a new schema for this new information so that they can return to that balance, this sense of mastery of the world, okay? So how can we tap into Piaget's schema for formation theory to be able to motivate our students? Well, maybe we can encourage students to assimilate new information to existing schemas. So if you're introducing a new concept, a new theory, you can ask students how it relates to what they already know. How does it relate to your life? How does it relate to what you know from other classes? So you're getting students to assimilate this new information, bring in this new information into what they already, the schemas that they already had in their head. Now, you can also get students to accommodate new information by asking them, how did this documentary or how did this new information change your existing view? How do you have to accommodate this new information? How can you bring it in and create this new schema in your mind? So, Brozo wrote an article about connecting with students who are just interested in experience. Some recommendations that the article makes is that instructors can build on what students already have read, what they know, and what they like to do. So encourage them to make a connection between the new information, what you're teaching, and what they already understand and what they're interested in. So connect uninterested students with something that they already understand, again, what they're interested in. We need to make this real, and we need to make the material relevant to the students. So we can give local examples, teach with events in the news, so things that they are seeing and hearing about already to help them assimilate the new concepts into their existing reality. Use pop culture technology, use iPods, cell phones, YouTube videos to teach. Bring in this technology that students feel comfortable with and that they enjoy, that they find interesting. Bring that into the lesson. Connect the subject to the student's culture. So especially if you have a multicultural student body, ensure that you make the topics relevant to them, to their culture as well, so that they are interested. Connect it to their outside interests. If it's a student that likes to play sports, try to connect the topics maybe to the sports, something of that sort, as well as to their social life. So, okay, so Piaget, another part of Piaget's cognitive developmental theory, looks at how we use schemas and how we develop schemas differently throughout our lives. So we move through 4 stages of cognitive development according to Piaget. When we are infants, we are in the sensory motor stage where we're learning about the world through our senses and our motor abilities. Then we go through preoperative, then concrete, and then formal operational. Now, the part here that relates to college students and getting them motivated to learn is that we have to assess if a student's thinking is maybe more in the concrete operational, or is it in the formal? So college requires more complex thinking, abstract thinking, hypothetical thinking. So it really requires that formal operational stage, that last stage of development, cognitive development, that a lot of teens will reach and a lot of adults will reach, but they may not be using formal operations, and their high school education maybe didn't encourage them to think abstractly or think about hypothetically. Maybe they were encouraged to do more rote learning about maybe defining terms and things of that sort, whereas college requires students to think critically about topics, come up with their own ideas, all right? So if a student is stuck or more comfortable with concrete learning, maybe they might say something like, well, what page is the answer on? And is the type of question that they actually need to come up with their own ideas or put their own spin to it, take information from the text and then provide their informed view or opinion on it, their informed opinion on it. A student that's more in concrete might have a hard time with this. They might say, well, what page is that on? No, it's not a page. It's that you take this information you can find in the text, but then apply it. Use the information to go beyond what is a definition and be able to make connections, be able to think abstractly, come up with your own hypotheses and things of that sort. So formal operations, a student needs to be in formal operations to be able to argue and think about how unfair the world is and how this unfairness can be eliminated. So fair, just, those type of things and those type of discussions are really abstract thinking. They require abstract thinking, hypothetical thinking. So how can we encourage students to engage more in formal thinking, formal operational thinking? Well, instead of asking students maybe to define a term or something like that, you can ask them to analyze or evaluate or create. Now, this means that the student has to think more abstract, in a more abstract manner. So we need to go beyond our senses. We need to go beyond defining what they see in the book or writing a definition down right out of the book and being able to put it into their own words, being able to explain what it means to them, explain how the concept can be used in life to create change. So encourage students to talk about or discuss possibilities and implications of concepts and theories and events. And encourage students to write about abstract ideas like rights and how just and fair the world is. So those are some ways that you can encourage students to think more in a more complex way.